For this presentation, I'll be doing a literary analysis of the Japanese science fiction fantasy graphic novel Giganto Maxia, which is written and illustrated by Kentaro Miura. The story of the graphic novel revolves around our main characters Delos and Prom, as they are set in the middle of a conflict between two opposing forces, the Empire and the demi-human tribes. The setting of this story is Earth 100 million years in the future, where the setting is shown as is the nature of graphic novels, where it is much easier to portray a setting because it is graphic. It shows images. So the world, the most prominent setting of the graphic novel is a large desert, which is where the insect demi-human tribe is located. The culture of the world seems to revolve around two types of humans. There are the regular humans, the empires, which is an advanced civilization that goes around and conquers these smaller demi-human tribes, demi-humans being humans that have over millions of years adapted to an environment and have begun to have traits resembling the animals around their environment. The demi-human tribes are built up around an object known as a shard of Gaia that power and brings life to the environment. And when this shard of Gaia is removed, which we also see later in the graphic novel, this happens. The area is left barren and dead. Nothing can survive there because the shard of Gaia has been removed. The graphic novel revolves or uses, as many other graphic novels, a lot of visual storytelling. There are many pages of action and events happening without any dialogue being said, although most of the rest of the storytelling is done through dialogue and inner monologues of the characters in the story. The inner monologue isn't limited to the main characters. Every character that has lines can also have an inner monologue, which is shown to the reader, which means that we have an omniscient narrator that knows everything which is going on. Like I stated before, we have two main characters. We have Delos, who is a former gladiator and wrestler, and his main character trait is that he dislikes bloodshed. So his dislike for bloodshed makes it so that he, even though the Empire are portrayed as the villains, he doesn't wish to have them killed. He doesn't wish that they are murdered, even though the Empire is very willing to kill the demi-human tribes as well as himself. Now Delos has a partner, the second protagonist, Prom, which is a small girl who is an entity known as a healing spirit. Her main goal in the story is to prevent the removal of the shards of Gaia so life can flourish in the area. Other than that, she doesn't have any interest in what else happens. The characters' motivations are unwavering throughout the story, which means that they have the same goal going into the story and when the graphic novel ends. So the name Delos actually comes from I should have mentioned this before. The graphic novel is highly inspired by Roman mythology, as the Empire and our main characters use creatures known as gigantos. These creatures are beings of Roman myth, which the author uses as a base for his story here. Now, the name Delos is the name of an island which the Roman god Apollo was born on, and a quote from GreekMythology.com describes Apollo as a perfect blend of physical superiority and moral virtue, which also seems to be what the author was intending for Delos, the main character, to be like. A physically superior character which is morally righteous in every way. So the story opens up with presenting the villains, the Empire, and shows the destruction that they leave behind. The composition of the novel follows the fourth graph in the toolbox set composition and structure section of novels and short stories. With this being a beginning of the story, a small climax with with falling action leading up to a larger climax which is our main characters battling the Empire. The title Giganto Maxia comes from the Roman word Giganto Maxia, which were the giants of Roman mythology. Again, pulling back to this Roman inspiration that Kentaro, the author, has taken when writing the novel. The themes of Giganto Maxia, I would argue, are environmental protection. The main theme is environmental protection. The reason for this being that the entire story in the end revolves around these shards of Gaia that power and bring life to the demi-human tribes, whereas the demi-human tribes are, I see them as nature given life, which can also be seen by how the demi-humans are just humans with animalistic attributes. They are literally humanistic animals. They are the embodiment of nature. Whereas the Empire, who are just normal humans, come in and wreck the environment for their own benefit. So what I believe the message of the author is, he has created this graphic novel to show how humans in our time are actually entering ecosystems and nature environments and wreaking havoc just for their own benefit. They are gathering minerals or cutting down trees in places that can't afford to lose those resources. Where in the graphic novel, drawing it back to that, whereas if they lose the resources to the shard of Gaia, they die out. The entire place becomes barren and uninhabitable, as stated by one of the main characters, Prom. This graphic novel can also be drawn back to our previous class exercise, I forgot the word, but the back to nature part that we had in our third year, I believe, specifically the WHEF Nature Economy Report, where they're looking at nature damages in an economic standpoint, whereas our author here is looking at it in a moral and ethical standpoint, showing in a different way how life is ruined if we take for granted nature's resources. That's about it for the presentation.